Ironically, I just saw a deal come down as we went to break there. The Raiders are signing Jeremy Chin. So they traded safeties. The Raiders are signing the Panthers safety. The Panthers are signing the Raiders safety. We'll see who made the right call on that one next fall. All right, coming in at number 29 on Prisco's top free agents list, it's Cam Bynum, former Minnesota Vikings safety, now in Indianapolis Colt for 4 years, $60 million. And this is where I would have liked Merrick to come in, right? That's why I think 3 years, $751 is too much. 4 years, 60.
Stretch it over about 4.
Similar sort of. I see Bynum and Merrick at a similar sort of level heading into free agency. Obviously, Pete did too. Had them 7 places apart. 4 years, 60 is much more reasonable for a guy with Bynum's skill set who's versatile in what he's capable of bringing to the table.
And I think about this guy. I think about this guy, Cam Bynum. And not only has he been really good, really versatile for the Minnesota Vikings, but you have to understand the room that this guy came into, that secondary room. That's Harry the Hitman Smith's room. And there's nobody smarter in the National Football League, in my opinion, that I played against, especially in division. And the fact that he was still doing it at a high level these past few seasons speaks volumes about him. But Cam Bynum gets to take with him, just like Sam Darnold taking to the West Coast, the things he learned from Kevin O'Connell. You're going to have that in Indianapolis. And we already know that they've got some real winners in Indianapolis in the front seven. And to be able to add a piece like this on the back end is great. And anytime you have strengthened players at all 3 levels of the defense, it bodes well for you. And for Indianapolis, they're going to have to figure out some things offensively, but they went and got a good piece here with Bynum.
All right, next one up, number 33 on the list, former Saints corner Paulson Adebo heading to the New York Giants. 3 years, $54 million. I'm just going to say it. This is one of my first C's on the grading scale because to me, he's a little boomer bust on the outside. Not only that, he's coming off a broken femur. He did not play.
That's a big bone.
Week 7 last year. That's something that obviously structurally the contract may have that factored in, and he may never see anywhere close to that $54 million. Who knows? But that's a big number for a guy like that, and feels just a little outsized for me. So I went C+ as my first one into the C's for anyone.
My buddy, who's a Giants fan named Peter, shout out Peter. And sometimes we've read some of his text messages on this show. I'm going to read another one today. I want to throw up on myself with the Giants free agency. Nobody wants to play there. And you talk about this guy, Paulson Adebo, and I hope his femur's
doing well. You wanted to play there.
I hope his femur's doing well. Well, I mean, they offered him 3 years, $54 million, Mike Renner. I'm on the first thing smoking out of the airport to go play for that. The upside for Giants fans is this. Cornerback is one of those positions that unless you're a premier superstar type player with a nickname or you're in the Pro Bowl with cool Oakleys on, you don't really know these cornerbacks. And for this guy, he's not that superstar player. He's probably not even a Pro Bowl alternate level player, but you get an opportunity to maybe, hopefully, get a guy who's ascending and he comes back healthy and he can help your defense. But, I mean, that's really all I've got to say about that. I had to do a little bit of research about this fella, but you got to just think about where he was playing, and not many folks were tuning in to watch him this past year, especially with all the things going on with the Saints. So you go to New York, we're going to find out if you said he's a boom or bust player. We're going to find out if he's a boom or bust personality, character traits, all that stuff gets exponentially shown in New York. So good luck to him.
All right, next one, 38. Former 49ers safety, former All-Pro, Talanoa
awesome.
Hufanga goes to the Denver Broncos. 3 years, $45 million. We got asked like a couple weeks ago, I think, on the show, how do the Broncos improve their run defense? What do they do at the safety position? This is a guy who will improve your run defense at the safety position.
This is a Leo meme.
Yeah, point. They're right at him. He's him. 3 years, $45 million. Now, again, another guy where serious buyer beware with injuries. He hasn't even played 1,000 snaps over the past 2 years. ACL in 2023, recovering from that, came back, wrist injury this past season, concussion this past season. The way he plays is not conducive to staying healthy on a football field. So one fully healthy season in 4 years. This is why he goes for 3 years, 45. but this guy has much more upside than that 3 years, 45. And I assume, given his injury history, that there are some, either low levels of guarantees or big insurance for injuries in the future. So all that being said, I like the move. This is a B+ for me. I think this is a low stakes way to have a potentially outsized impact on your run defense in 2025.
Without the injury concerns, this is a hard A for me. But with bearing those in mind, I am going to lean to the Bs like you are here. And when I think about Sean Payton and his football teams, whether it's on the offensive or the defensive side of the ball, we know historically he's been part of some violent outfits. Need I say more? This guy fits the blueprint of what Sean Payton's teams are trying to be about. I mean, you look in the offensive backfield for Sean Payton, and there's a fullback more often than not. You don't think he likes a safety who wants to go up there and bruise guys up a little bit. And I think about those secondaries with a star like Pat Surtain and how special it is to have two corners that are good. And then you can throw into the equation a safety on the back end, and you've got a real Bermuda Triangle of hell for quarterbacks and receivers and anybody trying to play the game of football. I think secondary is such an important position. And for Talanoa Hufanga, obviously, the primetime thing is staying healthy. But I give it a B+.
Let's go on to number 42, Dan Moore Jr. To the Tennessee Titans, former Pittsburgh Steelers left tackle. He goes to Tennessee in a 4-year, $82 million deal. Not a typo. 4 years
for him.
$82 million. That puts him now at the 6th highest paid tackle in the NFL. Left tackle, excuse me. 6th highest paid left tackle in the NFL. They obviously had a left tackle last year, their top 10 pick, J.C. Latham. J.C. Latham, though, was a right tackle at Alabama. Dan Moore's just been a left tackle. So I assume this means Latham goes back to the right side. That double team of Skoronski and Latham gone. But Dan Moore, now your starter. I want to hear your thoughts on this first, and then I'll give mine because mine are not
first and foremost,
for Titans fans.
First and foremost, congratulations to Jeff Nally of CAA, who was not my agent for the entirety of my career, but my last deal with the Chiefs, 1-year deal, I used Jeff Nally. Great guy. I can see why he got $80 million. Congratulations to Dan Moore Jr. One stat that stuck out to me from your buddies over at PFF, and I'm not sure how this rubs you, only 3 offensive tackles who gave up 10+ sacks according to PFF. Dan Moore gave up 12. That's a lot of sacks. And when you've got question marks at the quarterback position like the Titans do, and you've got potentially a very young guy in the building, the last thing you want to do is make him gun shy. And you can do so by having a revolving door at the offensive tackle position. I know I stress interior of the pocket being the main importance, but those offensive tackles are important too. And giving up 12 sacks, you kind of get used to losing a little bit as an offensive tackle. It takes a guy who's been there to be able to tell you about it. But when you do start to get beat over and over again, you start to get in your own head a little bit, and it can be tough to get out of that. I hope that with a new set of threads on and a new offensive line coach and a new everything, Dan Moore Jr. can turn this thing around and help out whoever it is that's playing the quarterback position for the Titans.
Yeah, that was the most sacks of any tackle in the NFL last year. So not good. Obviously, you're blocking for 2 guys who hold the football a little bit. Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. Not always the most indicative. He is about as bad a starting tackle as you can get that you won't necessarily complain about. Like that,
$82 million.
And they paid $82 million for it. If this doesn't say to you,
I love football,
draft that offensive tackle. If you're debating, do I want an offensive tackle or another position? Draft the offensive tackle.
Way cheaper now.
So you don't have to go and spend $21 million for, I would conservatively put him as no better than the 18th best left tackle in the NFL.
Congrats to Jeff Nally and Dan Moore Jr.
All right, number 49 on this. Robert Spillane, linebacker. Oh, my grade for that one, Dan Moore, D+. Sad. Robert Spillane, linebacker for the Raiders, goes to the New England Patriots. 3 years, $37.5 million for Robert Spillane. I'm giving this one an A purely because you want Robert Spillane on your football team. I don't think
this is such an archetype grading by me and Renner, because I'm going to go A as well. It's just elevated Will Compton. It's like Michelin star Will Compton, and I love Will Compton, and I'd love to have him on my team. Would hate to play against the bastard. He doesn't want to meet me in the A gap, but I don't want to meet this guy Spillane in the A gap either. He's a problem, and we talked about the character fit, or not the character fit, but that motif, that theme that Vrabel's looking for. He just wants some dogs. And I'll tell you what, this guy Spillane has been a dog on some questionable football teams over the last couple of years. And I respect a man who shows up when even the sky is falling and plays his butt off. And that's what Spillane does week in, week out.
I mentioned Milton Williams, the signing. Would it improve their run defense? This signing improves your run defense. This guy will be a one-man run defense at times. He is awesome. Watched him play downhill. And everything you just said, I can echo. A signing. Next up, last one in the top 50. Dyami Brown, Commanders wide receiver, goes to the Jaguars on a prove-it deal. 1 year, $10 million to play now with Trevor Lawrence, Brian Thomas Jr., Liam Cohen's offense. I love this for him. I love this for the Jags. Another one of my favorite signings. These are the ones where a guy, to me, he was better than his numbers suggested last year. You saw him down the stretch in the playoffs be a feature.
He was awesome.
Offense. It just was a run-heavy offense that kind of featured one wide receiver and not a lot of other people. So I'm a big fan of this deal. One of my favorite deals for agency so far. These are the ones where you can really make your money back on them, signings like this.
I said, great season in D.C. Wish he could stay with Jaden, but obviously excited to watch him go down to Jacksonville with this new look offense and the renaissance, hopefully, and what we've heard for Trevor Lawrence. And I just think about all the ways that he's going to be utilized. Like it's going to be like maybe Godwin-esque, hopefully, for the Tampa Bay or for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And my initial reaction is I'm saddened that I don't get to see Dyami Brown continue to be there with Jaden Daniels, because like you said, they had some synergy there. There was something brewing in DC, but obviously things get split up, and hopefully he can continue to be on that ascent. And I mean, look, I'm in no way comparing Jaden Daniels to Trevor Lawrence, but not a bad gig here for Dyami Brown, going from the young stud to kind of like the seasoned young stud there. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, Dyami Brown over 200 yards in the
I'll give it a B
games.
Plus.
Okay. Over 200 yards in the 3 playoff games that the Commanders had. That actually was the most yards in a 3-game stretch in his career. So peaking kind of at the right time. And he's only 25 years old. Just turned
the anti-Sam Darnold.
Yeah. So, guys, Nestle's. All right, let's get to some of our favorites outside the top 50. Let's do this. You pick one, and then I'll pick one. And we'll go back and forth a few times till we hit some of these interesting ones outside the top 50. So who you got that you want to talk about?
I want to talk about Justin Fields. Can I talk about Justin Fields for a minute?
Let's talk about him. He's at 51.
Okay, so Justin Fields is one of the most fun people to watch play the game of football. And whether it's comically good, like you laugh and you say to yourself, like, you should not be able to throw that football, or you should not be able to spin out of that tackle. If things go right in New York, which is obviously capital, italicized, underlined, because of the history of the New York Jets, this could be the biggest signing of the offseason. And it'll slide right in there. 2 years, $40 million. Congratulations to Justin for getting paid again. Good for him. I just think that the guys in the locker room that play with Justin Fields, they rally around him. I've never been in a locker room with him. I know he's a quiet guy. He's understated. He's emotionally, like, he's just flatline all the time. But you watch him play football, and he's a live wire. And for a New York fan base who has had some lackluster quarterbacking over the last however many years, this guy will bring you electricity every single weekend. I'm excited about it. And you know that defense is going to come to play regardless. But with him at the quarterback position, I think they'll be even more fired up. The team will rally around him.
I think after this signing, too, I feel, I won't say confident, but I feel strongly that number 7 overall now is an offensive lineman. I don't think they're trading Garrett Wilson. You literally have his college teammate on the roster now. I don't think you're trading Garrett Wilson. And I think that you are taking a more run-heavy approach because you have such a talented running back in Breece Hall, and because you're so close along the offensive line to having one of the better offensive lines in the NFL. You're really just missing the right tackle position. So would not be surprised at all if Armand Membu, Missouri OT, ends up being the pick at 7, and you're just rolling with what's trying to be what they had in Detroit. The Detroit Exodus. Your new OC is from Detroit. Your new head coach is from Detroit. I think they're going to try to replicate what they had there, which is a strong run attack, and everything else flows off of that. So I don't mind it. I don't mind it for the Jets. My one I want to talk about, and I've been burning to talk about it all day long with someone. Aaron freaking Banks, Golden Domer to the Green Bay Packers. You see the number there on your screen. I'm waiting for someone to say, sorry, that was misreported. But 4 years, $77 million. The Green Bay Packers, and Aaron Banks could be a great guard. This is nothing against him. One, though, he's been an okay guard at best over the course of his career. 2, there's not a lot of positions that the Green Bay Packers are deep at. They are deep at offensive guard. They have 3 guards on their roster, so much so that they couldn't even put their first-round pick from a year ago on the football field. You had Elgton Jenkins, you have Sean Ryan, you have Jordan Morgan. Elgton can maybe play left tackle or center. Jordan Morgan and Sean Ryan are guards. Aaron Banks is a guard. Those guys are not playing other positions on the football field.
They've got serious question marks in that building. I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
So either you're relegating your first rounder from a year ago to backup status, or something is happening here that I have no clue. So I'd love to hear.
That seems to. Well, you can't ask the owner because there's 50 million.
Well, it's me.
Of the Green
it's me.
Bay
I'm
Packers.
the owner.
Yeah, I got to call 1 million people to get the answer, but it leads me to believe that there's some confidence issues in one of those guys. And if you think it's going to be Jordan Morgan, then that's a real shame because we like Jordan Morgan and we'd love to see him play. And you know what, Jordan, if you do end up being the backup, you can just drive south and we'll just kick Joe Thuney out there to left tackle and we'll figure that one out.